2300 Jackson Street in that little house. I was born in that house, the only one born in that house. We had 2 bedrooms in our home, and I and my sisters, Janet and Latoya, slept in the living room. We had a couch that led out into a bed. My brothers slept in one room, and that room had triple bunk beds, and they slept on the bunk beds. And then my parents slept in the other room. Tito and Jermaine slept in one bunk bed. Marlon and Michael slept in a bunk bed together that they shared. And then Jackie slept in one. And then, of course, when Randy came along, he shared it with Jackie. We slept in the living room, the girls did. And we had a couch that led out into a bed. And we shared the bed. Janet used to sleep literally on my stomach when she was born. When you live in an area such as the area that we came from, you really don't think about that. I mean, poor, that was a way of life. We had plenty of food to eat, and we had clothes, went to school. We were like all the other kids in the area. When Michael was first born, he was like all the other kids. The only difference that he had as he began to get older was that he was extremely mischievous, rambunctious. He would do little things to annoy you, or for example, when he would get in trouble, he'd run from my mom if she wanted to chastise him, and he'd run up under the bed and hang on to the springs, and they couldn't get him out. They, meaning my brothers, they tried, but they couldn't do it. So she'd just say, leave him alone, wait till later. He'll come out sooner or later. He used to always make funny faces. If everybody was down or whatever, he'd walk in the kitchen and buck his eyes or whatever, and do something really crazy to make you laugh. He was just fun. He would always do funny things. Anything for a laugh. Anything for a laugh. And I remember in particular one time when I was at my mom's house, Latoya was always very persnickety about the way she kept her room. She had this beautiful, I think it was a white satin bedspread that she had just gotten on her bed. And Michael had went to some kind of shop where you buy these little gadgets, tricks, and he took some invisible ink and he spread it all over the bedspread, squirted it all over, and then he had her to come in and look at it. She was livid. She got so upset. She didn't know, she knew something had happened, and she knew probably it was him, and she thought it wouldn't come out, and she had a living fit. Crazy, 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 crazy around the house. Everything for a laugh, anything to make people have fun. My first time ever performing with the family, I was the last one, was when they had the family show. And they traveled all across the United States. And I did this song and dance routine with Marlon and Michael. I did the lead, and they accompanied me in the dance. And I was on stage dancing, doing my thing, and they, came in and accompanied me, and they were dancing around me in a circle. And they had me scared to death because they said, Rebe, don't look down, there's a roach crawling up your leg. And I started screaming right while I was performing. And he started laughing. Crazy stuff like that. While you're on stage in front of an audience, this goes on. I remember Michael getting chastised with the rest of my brothers by my father. And he was very strict. He was a strong disciplinarian. And he did not play. And I'm sure he was afraid of that. I mean, he was always Michael that is, getting into trouble. So when he got into trouble, the next thing was the chastisement that would come after it. So yeah, I remember that very well. He didn't even have to take the strap out. All he'd have to do is look at you like this. Growing up, we were very close. I mean, all of us were close. And the thing I always think about, or think in terms of with my brother, is that as a kid, my mom had to work, and that meant that for those that were at home, they had to have a babysitter, and I was in school, so there were times when I had to walk my brother to my grandmother's house before I went to school, and she would babysit him, and then I would go to school. He would perform and do the moves and routine that everyone else was doing, but then all of a sudden he would add a little bit of something in there different, catch you off guard, and that happened a lot of times when he had to perform before people too. And that was him feeling what he was doing, and I noticed that. And then not only that, just him getting into his routines and studying on his routines and trying to perfect what he was doing. I noticed that it came very easy for him because he loved it so much. And that's when I started noticing, and I'm sure everyone else did, how that there was a little bit of a difference, quite a bit of a difference, I should say, with his performing in the others. He was always tap dancing all over the house. He would, you know what he would do? He would put on roller skates and skate around. This is so dangerous. Skate around the swimming pool to see how close he could come to it without going in. He would dance as he was doing it, and tap dancing too. Money that they would gather together from performing in the local area, he would take his money and save it, and Marlon would spend his. And then Michael saved so much of his money, he wanted to have his own little candy store. So he'd go down to the corner store, he bought candy, and he sold it at the house, or he called himself selling it. But I have to tell you, something that was really funny about it is Marlon would sneak and eat his candy when he wasn't watching. He was upset, he'd cry and chew him out about doing it. That candy store meant everything to him. When I first heard it, I couldn't believe it. And it was sort of exciting, and I went, wow, that's them? And I had to get used to the song, because even though it was a very big hit, your brother's singing on a record, on vinyl, and you hearing it is something totally different. But I thought it was great. I remember my mom didn't like it at first. She thought, I don't know, you know, that kind of attitude. But then, of course, everybody grew to like it. But it was a lot of fun listening to it, and it was something that was unreal. I can't even express how I felt. He was very close to my mother, and she was like a comfort to him, I think. They spent a lot of time together, and you know, at one point Michael was going through a stage where he had a serious acne problem, and it had gotten so bad that Michael was afraid to really look at people in the face and talk to them. I mean, when he talked to you, he'd look down, and my mother was sensitive toward that. I think because of her interest in wanting to help him, to give him the needed support that was necessary then, I think that caused a lot of the closeness. Because he was in the entertainment profession, and as many entertainers do, he wanted to look his best. He thought that definitely enhanced his features or his looks. And that's why I think he thought in the direction that he did. Oh, you can say that about just about every entertainer that's out there, or not every entertainer, but a great majority of them. They look fine, but they always think they can look better if they go and extend it another notch by having that done. So I guess it's what makes the person feel good themselves. When Michael was really focused and together, he was the most wonderful, encouraging, innovative, and enlightening person you would ever want to meet. He was just very, as you said, loyal and pure. And I miss that more than anything else. He would make you feel so good. I remember one time I had to perform. I was performing in New York City, my first time by myself. Panicked because I had the flu. I was so sick. I couldn't even go, ah. And I called him, and he started laughing. He said, you're going to be okay. I had to perform before CBS, all these people at the company. He said, you'll be okay. He told me what to do to get my voice back. I was able to perform that night. But when I finished the number, I couldn't even talk. But what he told me, it really worked. And that being that he was always encouraging, knew what to say and how to say it. I know Michael had a lot of problems he was dealing with. And it's very difficult to even sit here and talk about him, really. It really is. But I feel that one thing is for sure, I think he's the greatest entertainer thus far that's ever lived. I really admired his talent, loved him very much. And when he was together, I think he was one of the warmest and most lovable persons you could ever meet. I really do think that. I think Michael's legacy is his music and his love for entertaining people. And when being together, you know, when he was focused, wanting to just help people and do what was right. There's so many people today, young people especially, that try to ascribe to learning about his talents and his musical ability, because he was outstanding, very talented when it came to that, with his producing and his dancing. And I think that's going to be the legacy. And also the concern that he had for others when it came to those that were ill or those that were sick.